wanted to make a couple of comments here. Starting off, I want to introduce Megan Heiss, who is the coordinator for PCAS delegation down to Venezuela. To talk just briefly about that before we bring Brian up, I want to say that, you know, I was a delegate in 2006 to the World Social Forum, and I was invited to go down there and speak as a veteran. And I went down there and I did that, and it was a wonderful experience. A lot of Colombians came to that event at the college in Caracas to hear what we were saying, and we had a lot of the Venezuelans there, and lots of questions about how veterans feel about what's going on in the world and where the U.S. stands and how we differ as Veterans for Peace and a voice against war and oppression and intervention in any of the countries around the world. This is about voices of vets beyond borders. And so this is an idea where we're working both at home and abroad, and to deal with the issues that are concerning people, those that are being recruited to this war machine, and those that have gone into it and have changed their minds over a period of time as they grew and matured, as I did in my own experience of being a Vietnam veteran. Megan has been working with people down there, and I want to bring her up, and she can tell you a little bit more about that. And then we want to have Benji Lewis, who is with IVAW, to come up and speak, tell just about 10 minutes why he's going on this delegation and what he's been doing. And then we'll bring up Brian Willson. And so right now, without further ado, I'll bring up Megan Heiss.
Thanks everyone for coming in. Thank you for your patience and your flexibility. I think we're all going to be a little more comfortable down here. I'm joining PCAS. I think I started a couple weeks ago as the new co-coordinator, working with Shizuko Hashimoto and an amazing core of volunteers. Raise your hand if you've been a volunteer with PCAS. Right on, right on. Portland has a long history of solidarity with Latin America, which we're going to hear about a little bit more tonight. I don't know, how many people went to our 30th anniversary party on Sunday? Yes, yes. PCAS is this year, this July, celebrating 30 years of solidarity. Of course, PCAS as an organization grew out of this desire to support what was happening in Central America, specifically with the Sandinista Revolution in 1979. So we have a long history of supporting social movements through material aid, also organizing here politically against U.S. imperialism. And in 2005, PCAS broadened its scope from Central America to throughout Latin America. And we had a planning retreat. We were looking at Venezuela and thinking about the process, the democratic process that was unfolding there. The Venezuelan people having rewritten their constitution in 1999. How many people are familiar with what happened April 11th, 2002, Venezuela? Mark, what happened?
Oh, well, there was a coup attempt against Chavez, and it was completely flawed because the people came out in the millions and refused to, they basically said, you want to vote? We voted for Chavez, we want him back into office. As a consequence, the army split, and they brought him back.
Right,
and things
right.
haven't been the same since.
Right, well, I would modify that in one regard. Actually, it wasn't an attempt, it was a coup, but they got the president removed. There was a coup, it happened, they took over, they swore in a new president, they chucked the 1999 Constitution, and for a few days there was this coup government installed that had the support of the U.S., and of course we know the backstory, right? That the State Department was involved in, they were, a few of the principal architects of the coup. But there's an expression now in Venezuela, todo once tiene su trece. And that refers to the fact that, as Mark alluded to, on April 13th, 2 days later, the people took their country back. And they went out in the streets. And with the help of soldiers who had the courage to resist, they got their president back. And that's something to be celebrated. And that's why in 2005, PCAS started a campaign of solidarity with the people of Venezuela. And we try not to focus so much on what Chavez is doing and more on the social movement that is unfolding thanks to these incredible social movements. I lived there for about 13 months, and I worked with a community radio station that was actively involved in one of the poor barrios in the community. And they didn't look at their radio station as an end in itself. They looked at it as a mobilization tool, right? It was a platform for other organizing projects. Like for instance, now there's this, they call it the Popular School of Construction. So they're taking kids that would otherwise probably get involved in crime. Caracas is a very dangerous city, owing to extreme levels of social inequality. And they're training folks in how to build houses, right? And they're reshaping the landscape of their barrio. They're rebuilding houses from shacks into legitimate houses, and they're giving these young men the tools they need to be part of the formal economy. So I was amazed at what I learned, and I came back and I wanted to share what I learned in Venezuela with my community, and now I'm working with PCAST. We've done several delegations, like Dan said, to the World Social Forum, we did a labor delegation to meet with workers' movements in Venezuela. And right now, PCAST is working with Vets for Peace and Iraq Veterans Against the War to bring a peace delegation to Venezuela. And why? Because we know that the war machine that has created these quagmires in Iraq and Afghanistan is the same that's intervening militarily and economically in Venezuela and across Latin America. And how many people heard what happened a few weeks ago in Honduras? Right. The CIA is up to its same dirty tricks with this coup. We know the U.S. was behind the coup, and no matter what happens now, we know that the military that was involved in the coup was trained at the School of Americas in our country, and we know that we, as taxpayers and as citizens, are partly complicit, and it's our duty to do what we can to oppose it. So we're trying to link the anti-imperialist struggles and these anti-war struggles and create a movement across borders so that we can stop the war machine. And thank you all for your support.